Hello there guys, happy Saturday. Daniel Childs back here again for another show. We're going to be breaking down some Chelsea news today. We're going to be talking about pipe bomb Poch. We're going to be talking about Estevao Willian and also the future of Conor Gallagher. If you like the sound of that, please do smash that like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to get to quite a few things because there is a bit to say today. And as I say, like the news is out there and I think I do have some thoughts on it, positive, negative, after the win against Spurs and hopefully another win tomorrow against West Ham at Stamford Bridge. Couple of things to mention. We've got a giveaway. I mentioned it earlier in the week. I'll mention it at the end of this video how you can get involved, but it does link to Alloy Collectors and this brilliant metal home shirt, great collectible, officially licensed by the club, that I've really enjoyed customizing myself. I'll put up on screen now. I've put Thiago Silva on the back of mine to commemorate and celebrate the career of Thiago Silva at Chelsea Football Club. But they don't just have Chelsea shirts, they have other shirts. You can get one that you can make at home or one set up in a locker like this. I really like this version as well. And they will have more Chelsea stuff. They have the goalkeeper kit from this season, the home shirt from this season, but then they'll have the home shirt from next season as well and some retro stuff coming out too. So fully customizable, I think a really nice collectible. And at checkout, use my discount code SonOfChelsea for 15% off. Helps the channel and hopefully gets yourself a very nice collectible. We will get to the giveaway that you can be involved with if you want one of these. At the end of the video if you haven't entered that giveaway already. Let's start off though with Mauricio Pochettino, who has been taking wild swings at the hierarchy of Chelsea. I mean, I don't think I'm being unfair by categorizing or framing it like that when you actually listen to what he's saying. And well, it's not just that. It's also a little bit at maybe critics in the media, maybe people like myself who've criticized or questioned the decision making of Mauricio Pochettino in recent weeks. But I think it's interesting in a number of ways. I mean, is it the sign of a guy who believes that he is going to be off in the summer or fearing that could very well happen? So he wants to make it abundantly clear what he honestly feels about the situation at Chelsea. And he doesn't want to go out kind of limp and kind of a little bit like just accepting of the situation, and not that there are real problems at this club or feelings and kind of frustrations he has about the structure of it that need to be said in public, because he is really the only public facing consistent speaker at Chelsea, especially for fans. You know, we don't hear from the sporting directors that much. You don't hear from the hierarchy that much. I think both of that is a problem, but maybe there's a bit of that. Maybe he already knows his future is settled. So he's, as I say, becoming a little bit like CM Punk when he was at the end of his contract with WWE, like just going all out, dropping some pipe bombs, dropping some home truths, and leaving at the end of his contract. So we will see what happens. But this is what he had to say, firstly, about the rumours over his future post-game against Spurs. He said, "I wanted to say that it is enough with this type of rumours, that I have one more year under contract here and no one says nothing. I suppose I'm going to be here." He also went on to say, "Only if then the season finishes and someone says to me, ciao, but we don't know at the moment. I suppose that I have one more year at my contract and that I am going to be here. Enough about the stupid rumours. You need to ask the club if they want me to keep going or not." Obviously, he does have that extension on his contract, one more year at least. But in the reality of football, like, to keep a manager and to not have them extend beyond 1 year is a little bit strange. I think it kind of is a sign of a lack of commitment. I'm not saying this current Chelsea hierarchy wouldn't do it, but I feel like a decision either way has to be made this summer when they gave him that shorter term contract last summer. But then there was this other clip where he was speaking on the touchline at Stamford Bridge after Spurs with Sky. And I found one of the lines, and I've got to give credit to Jessica Frotter on X, I should say now, Twitter, bringing up this quote. We'll listen to the clip and then I'll give you my thoughts on what he had to say.
Players, when players are not in the best form, competing, but because people believe that because it's a name, should play, but it's not in form or it's not, in their best. And I think the team from the beginning of the season, I think we suffered too many problems that sometimes the name were there, but not in our best. And never really we get the belief, to say we need to play in this way. I think too many individual, target or objective before to the team.
So I think the key line is too many individual targets before the team. Now, I feel like I'm turning a little bit into maybe an obsessed like Marvel fan, like, really detailing and breaking down trailers and looking at screenshots and trying to theorize what a film's going to be, or a Taylor Swift fan looking at the lyrics and reading way too much into them than is possibly necessary. To me, I think there are several ways you can take the too many individual targets before the team line. Is he talking about individual players caring more about their own stats rather than the collective? It could be about that. Is he talking about maybe the hierarchy, wanting their own targets, not just from a transfer point of view, but maybe players that they have proposed and really highlighted and felt like from an ego point of view, this is a really good player to sign playing in the first team, and if they're not playing in the first team, that doesn't look good on them? Is it that? Is it specifically the sporting directors, individual targets that they have previous relationships with? We've discussed that before. There's a number of ways you could take that. I think it could be in a variety of things, because Poch has been quite smart in recent weeks to drop things that feel a lot more weighted, but quite subtle. They're intelligent, where you can kind of dismiss them. You can't really say he's gone after that person. I think as every game's gone on, even with a positive result, arguably one of the most positive of his reign so far, he's still, saying these sort of things. And again, it leads to whether he has any future at Chelsea when he's speaking this frankly. But I think it's part of wanting maybe to maintain his reputation, and like, I'm not falling down and taking the blame for all of this because this is a collective failure. I think he has also mentioned that too. What do you think? Who do you think he's referencing here? Because I think it's reasonable to look at all three of those, like, and say, yeah, like at times Chelsea players on the pitch have looked too much like individuals over a team. What is Pochettino's responsibility in that? But that's a criticism. And I also absolutely do think from a sporting director point of view, like, it's just, human nature, right? Like, if you've really targeted someone as kind of a project player and they aren't performing, they aren't doing well, it's on your reputation that they do well, because it may be accountability. If there is some at Chelsea, it's going to fall on your head if that player fails, if you've invested a lot of money. So I just found those quotes interesting. And I think mainly what's going to happen with Mauricio Pochettino, is his future settled already? Is he, knows that sort of hammer is going to come down and he is going to be shown the exit door? Let me know your thoughts. Let's move on to some transfer stuff. Estevao Willian, the 17-year-old from Palmeiras, another very young player from South America that Chelsea are targeting. This is not a new name. I believe we spoke about him during the January window, but talks have apparently happened, or at least reports have come out of Brazil just before the Spurs game, that Chelsea are advancing to sign talent Willian from Palmeiras, a 30 million euro offer plus 25 million euros in objectives. So conflicting over how serious this is, but given this is a name that has regularly come up and it's not coming from no one, it's not like out of the ether, like I do think there is something behind it. And I think when you tally this up with the business Chelsea in this era have done already, it's not ridiculous to assume they'd be looking in a market like this to sign more young players. I said during the January window, when there are reports of like a 60 million fee, that was absolute insanity and Chelsea should go nowhere near that. I still think it's insanity, but people have pointed this out, and I think it's an absolutely relevant point here in terms of what is the squad planning. This is the issue of it not just looking like stockpiling and player trading and, again, trying to take punts on players because maybe it looks nice, but how are these players actually going to develop and integrate and become better individuals at Chelsea and very much come into the team seamlessly and help us as a squad? I mean, this is the issue, because if you look at his positioning currently on the right of Chelsea's attack, where he feasibly could play if Chelsea signed him as a very young player, look at the players we currently have in the first team, mainly Palmer and Madueke. I know Sterling has played out there, but Palmer and Madueke, who you suspect are going to be here next season. Then you've got Amari Hutchinson, who's had a brilliant season with Ipswich. He scored again at the time of recording here. He's just scored again. They're on the way to the Premier League. Angelo, obviously, has been on loan at Strasbourg this season. And Kendry Paez is coming next summer. These are not old players. You've bought a load of players in a similar age bracket, all under the age of 25, who are going to need minutes to develop. And unless you are planning to consistently send them out on loan, there is going to be a bottleneck at some point. And I ponder this business because is it just for the multi-clubs? Or are we looking at players like this for the first team. And I think in terms of priority and what needs to be the priority this summer, players like Estevao Willian, I'm not saying that they can't be amazing. I'm not saying that they won't go on and have a great career. But is it do or die for Chelsea? Is it on your list of targets this summer? Is it the main thing? Not saying you can't do both, but I think in terms of what we've seen evidence-wise from this Chelsea hierarchy so far, they are more likely, and have just in evidence so far, they are more likely to sign types like this over more experienced players over the age of 25, which I think a majority of us believe need to be bought this summer if Chelsea are going to do any business. So again, I'm just highly concerned about their strategy. And I said this about Paez. I know he's had a good end to the season, but I still have that concern. I have this concern about young players like Estevao Willian. Like, what's the culture in the environment when a player like this would arrive? Is it really good for their development if they are in an environment, of course, highly pressurized, but also just maybe a bit cluttered because you've bought all those players and maybe you haven't sold a lot of them off by the time he arrives? It doesn't look like coherent planning, in my opinion. Maybe you disagree, and maybe you feel like this is a talent we simply have to get. But I hear that every 3 or 4 months. And, if you don't have a good environment to cultivate and nurture these talents, they might quickly turn out to be another one on the pile that you regret signing. So I think there are genuine concerns there, and I don't think this is a signing that Chelsea absolutely need to be doing. I think it says a lot, actually, that Brazilian fans who are so excited about this youngster and excited about his future, particularly ones who watch him on a regular basis, were concerned when they saw serious reports about Chelsea, because they know, like I think a lot of us know, that it is an environment that's not the best for player development as of recently. We hope that changes, but you're not foolish for having concerns. And also, if you're someone who believes this summer needs to go in another direction in terms of the profile player we're signing, I'm absolutely with you. And this, of course, naturally leads on to the players we could be selling and the wrong players we could be selling. Because while trying to sign players who, haven't played in the Premier League, are going to take time to adapt, are very young, we're trying to sign players on our first team currently who've been wearing the captain's armband, one of the most beloved players in the current first team. We saw that in midweek with that lovely flag for Connor. And it seems like Chelsea, though, are ready to sell him for around 50 million. They need to sell academy graduates. This is from Nazar Kinsella to fund the pure profit to help fund further transfer spending. Ideally, Chelsea would like to sell Gallagher or other high-value academy stars such as Trevor Chalobah, who of course scored very well against Spurs in midweek, Ian Maatson, Armando Broja before June the 30th, so that deals can be included in their 24-25 accounts. We've gone round the roundabouts here with so many. You know my opinion on Conor Gallagher. I think no smart club is selling him. No smart club is just easily ditching him and thinking we'll do better, because I have little faith that Chelsea will replace him with better players quickly, or players of his consistency and impact and tactical adaptability, whatever you want to say, durability, not getting injured. Like, do you have any confidence we can do that very quickly in one summer? You can sell Gallagher and you can get someone infinitely better. No, I don't have much trust there. But also, just on the financial point of view, I think it's a foolish idea to think you can sell academy graduates now because the money is there and it will actually save you money in the long term. And I actually think it does the opposite, because if you don't have a good transfer strategy, Chelsea have found this consistently. Just look at the left-back situation this year, because Lewis Hall and Ian Maatson are leaving, two potential successors that you've had in your academy who could have walked into the first team. Instead, because both of them are leaving, Chelsea very likely, because of the injury situation for Ben Chilwell, Marc Cucurella's future is maybe still up in the air. I know he's had some good performances recently, but that has to be, a long-term thing. It can't just be a couple games and we go, yeah, Cucurella's great now. We need to see it more consistently. Chelsea will likely have to sign a left-back soon. So they have to go into the market and spend when they had options right there. It'll be the same with a player like Conor Gallagher. It'll be the same with other players in the squad. It'll be the same as what we saw in recent years. You think of the fact that we sold Mark Gurhey and Fikayo Tomori and Andreas Christensen, who was through our academy and left after the end of his contract, and all those players left. And we have had to spend, and I know he's not academy, but Rudiger, we let him go as well. Look at the amount we spent on defenders since then, and our defence hasn't got significantly better. So all of these things added up, it just, the PSR is a farcical situation for me, because it's incentivized clubs at the top level to ditch academy players. And I just don't think that's healthy for the game. I don't think it's a nice situation where you're looking over your academy, looking over players who could do real impact, real positive impact in your first team. I think from just like a squad building point of view, we've seen this so consistently. Even if the players coming through Cobham are not world class, are not like the players that are going to be winning the Ballon d'Or, but are suitable players that, even if they are just for depth reasons, are competent players that you can play in a variety of positions that you can trust over the course of a season. And it saves you a lot of money feasibly in the transfer market. Selling these players costs you, but it also, I just think, is a sad indictment on the nature of the game. And I just think it's very sad that Gallagher and other academy stars are not being offered, especially Gallagher, not being offered a contract. I just think is ludicrous. But then on top of that, having to pay the price really for the failures of the hierarchy, because that's what it is. You cannot argue selling Conor Gallagher is a good footballing decision. You cannot argue selling Trevor Chalobah is a good footballing decision if we're looking at the current Chelsea first team. And this is my deep frustration with Chelsea business and Chelsea strategy for quite a long time, that it feels like, especially when we're talking about young players, we're not talking about what is going to make the best and most competent and most high quality and consistent squad. It's really to do with politics. It's to do with, we bought this superstar, so we've got to invest in him, even though he's failing on the pitch. We've just got to keep going with him because we've invested so much into him, and it would look bad on us if we sold him or didn't give him that faith. Politics, making up now for financial failures we've had in the past. This is nothing to do with the quality of the player. How do they fit into our plans? In the long term, our style of play, is this a player that could get better over a period of time? Are they performing on the pitch to justify more patience? If you have to literally disregard all of that to justify selling a player like Conor Gallagher, you have to justify that to sell a player like Trevor Chalobah. And that's my consistent argument, is it doesn't make footballing sense, and I don't even think it makes tons of financial sense, because you are going to end up having to pay more money to replace the players that were on your books in the first place. So if it means Chelsea suffering some sort of PSR punishment, a points deduction, I actually think that would cost Chelsea. I know some fans won't agree with me here, and that's fine. I think it would cost Chelsea less to keep Gallagher and Chalobah and take some form of, say, a points deduction or a charge, rather than letting them go. And it means we have to do more business and chase our tail again for another couple of years. That's my fault. But before we do go, I promised a giveaway. So the giveaway here, you can win one of these. It's to do with Thiago Silva. So before the Bournemouth game, I'm going to end the giveaway, announce the winner before the Bournemouth game. It's not just one of these. It's also, as I'll just grab here, it's also one of the make your own. We're going to give both of these away, but definitely enter the giveaway. And all you need to do is comment below and give me your favourite Thiago Silva Chelsea moment. And give your preference, obviously. I want to give both of these away to loyal listeners and subscribers of the show. And thanks to Alloy Collectors again. Use my discount code as well if you want to get yourself one right now, but can enter the giveaway. So doing that for the rest of the season. And as well, please go and sign up on Tifo for more of my watch-alongs. Follow me across socials, all that good stuff. I'll be back after the West Ham game to give you my thoughts on hopefully a positive Chelsea performance. All the best.